This message is just for you. You are good enough. This is the episode for you. If you feel like you really don't belong in the language world and it's getting you down or making you doubt yourself, I made this video just for you. So whatever the big goal is, whether you're in the language world, the business world, any creative field that I can find, there are a lot of discussions about imposter syndrome, or that nagging feeling that we're isolated in our sphere, that we really don't belong there, and that at some point we're going to get found out or come unstuck. Some people call it imposter syndrome, but others might just call it feeling like a fraud, feeling incompetent, or feeling like we're just not like everybody else there. But whatever it is, it can have a dramatic effect on the way we look at ourselves, the way we relate to this world that we're trying to immerse ourselves in, and the way we set expectations and then acknowledge what we've done. And a lot of the advice out there is about raising confidence. Fake it till you make it. Stop comparing. Recognize your wins. Or maybe work through previous life experiences where you felt criticized or belittled or alienated. And that does make a lot of sense. But if those things aren't working, maybe they're not the solution you need. What if it's not about reassuring yourself that you can belong in that world and be taken seriously there? What if it's actually about showing yourself that the world could look completely different than you think it does? And if you could just change your vision of it, you could slot right in. To show you what I mean, I'd like to ask you a question. You could journal it if you like, but otherwise just answer it as fast as you can with the first things that pop into your head automatically. The question is, what do real language learners do? Where did your brain go just then? Was it to sitting in front of a desk? Was it to hours of spaced repetition? Was it to expensive tuition or year-long courses abroad or cramming vocabulary at 11 p.m? Was it to having certain aesthetically pleasing study setups? Was it about being able to concentrate on demand or talk to people in a range of overwhelming social situations? Because the thing with imposter syndrome is that it can lead us into a cycle of just reassuring ourselves that if we're mostly aligned with our ideal of a language learner, we'll be okay. And we can compensate for all the things that don't really make us as languagey as other people. It becomes about trying to convince ourselves that if we just squint a bit, we do fit into the mold really. But that is not always the solution we're looking for, and doing that can sometimes steer us even further away from what's true and useful for us. Because sometimes the problem isn't what we think it is. It's not the way we study, it's not the way we see the world or the reason we got into language learning in the first place. It's not our personality. It's that the image that we hold in our heads of what a language learner should look like is far, far too narrow. So we feel like we're suffocating and we're oppressing ourselves with all these imaginary rules based on fragments of things we've seen and heard from other language learners. So what if real language learners do what you do? They try stuff and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. They get frustrated, they go through peaks and troughs of motivation. They then try more things. They look things up on Google. They download loads of apps, but they only try a few and they only like a few of those. There is absolutely space for you in the language learning community, language learners, and I would love to see us collectively widen the scope of what people perceive language learning to be and the paths that they can take to get there. Because the wider that space is, the more welcoming it feels, and the easier it is to convince ourselves, honestly, that we don't have to contort ourselves beyond recognition just to fit in here. You have so many unique skills and experiences and personality traits that you can bring to your language learning, and they will really enrich your experience when you get here in terms of your habits, being able to mold what you're doing to your interests, and following your own goals to guide you. It's all so much more important than trying to be the right kind of language learner with the socially acceptable habits and schedules and methods. You're probably really close to doing it right already. So have a wonderful day, and I will see you back here tomorrow.